So after coming out from Ramayana and Mahabharata, we are going into that particular period where Sanskrit was getting developed over the vast area of India, vast area. The various writers have been talked about. Example is given of the person called as Kautilya. Heard about this particular person name?
Yes.
The same person whom we call in Hindi as Chanakya. And the book he has written is Arthashastra. Now this alone book which we talk about covers vast area of knowledge. Area of knowledge. It not only talks about how to rule. It talks about what are the political requirements for any government to survive, how the government should be run, how the management of the societies be maintained. So each and every topic which is concerned about a civilized world is taught in this particular book called as Arthashastra. So it is the book of management as well as the book of various topics such as arts, mathematics and other sciences. The Smriti Granth has explained the religious teaching, laws and customs. Now there is again a mention about certain combination of books. Combination means various volumes of the books which is called as Smriti Granth, Smriti memories. So how you memorize various things, those laws which we talk about, or the teachings of various scholars we talk about, or how the customs need to be followed. So lot many combinations against with the civil society is covered in the book name is Smriti Granth. By this time we happen to see Buddhism getting originated, and Buddhist literature also started to take into form. When I say Buddhist, I am talking about that writings concerning with the central point of Lord Buddha and his teaching. So I've got a center point. And that is basically what the Buddhist literature is all about. That time the Buddhist literature was getting composed in Pali language. Now this language is absolute now. We don't use in our communication Pali, but that time this language was predominantly used and various books regarding the Buddhism was written in this language itself. Now here to mention we have got the three books which are there. One is called as the Sukta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. So they have got a three books combination, and because we see three books compiled taking into the clue of Buddhism, it is called as Tripitaka. Three and the books. Three books. Which are those? We have got is Sukta Pitaka, we have got is Vinaya Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. A little idea about it. Sukta Pitaka is about the conversation between Buddha and the disciple. Now we have believed that Buddha is the one enlightened, one who has got knowledge. And we are going to ask the question to the one who is enlightened, one who has got the knowledge. So disciples of Buddha, they are asking the questions and Buddha is giving respond. And this conversation is written in Sukta Pitaka. When I talked about Vinaya Pitaka, it is about the general rules of Buddhism. And when I talk about Abhidhamma Pitaka, we talk about the total values on which Buddhism is based upon. What you should do, what you should not do. Basically, we're talking about the gist of Buddhism. So three books are there. Besides this, we see lot many other poems and writers working in Sanskrit. Example we have got is Kalidas, first name. Then I have got is Bhavbhuti, second name. Third is Bharvi. We have got Brat Bihari. We have got Banabhat. We have got is Manga. So total 6 names have been given, and these are those persons who had literally worked in bounds in Sanskrit language. The great writers like Kalidas is known as Shakespeare of India. So just imagine, we have got a writer in English called as Shakespeare, and whenever we want to have a tally being done, how to compare how the work is there, we try to compare with Shakespeare. If the work is in matching with Shakespeare, we really acknowledge, yes, this person has done some fabulous work in English. Same way, when we talk about the work being carried out in India, in Indian languages, we have got a person called as Kalidas. So we are going to compare the work with Kalidas and the work of that particular poem, or what is being done by the poet. And in case we find it really matching, then we consider that particular poet to be above the normal. You might be going out of the class, second last. So, of these, Kalidas is known all over the world, his work. Now we have got certain name of the work which was done by Kalidas. Example is given as Kumar Sambhav, Raghuvansham, Meghdut, Abhigyan Shakuntalam and Rutu Samhar. So these are the various work or combinations of Kalidas. From here, we will be getting certain multiple choice questions or blank questions. Now blank questions, you can easily remember that these are the 4 or 5 books which have been, or work which has been mentioned about Kalidas. What you have to remember is there are certain tricky questions which are projected. Example, if I write down Kalidas, Bhavbhuti and Bharvi, out of which one is the writer of Rutu Samhar? So this is a tricky question. You have to remember who the writer is and what he has written actually. So Kalidas, work associated is Kumar Sambhav, Raghuvansham, we have got Meghdut, Abhigyan Shakuntalam and Rutu Samhar. So we know it that these 5 books have been mentioned in the textbook associated with Kalidas, and apart from it, in case some is written, we have to just go for the mismatch one basically. Now one other writer, Bana. Basically the word is Bana and it is written as Bana. So Bana wrote Kadambari and Harshcharit. In your lower standard, you have learnt about any particular person in history by the name of Harshvardhan the First. Right? One of the earliest ruler of northern India who established his empire, a big area, Harshvardhan. So pertaining to that same Harshvardhan, we have got a book written known as Harshcharitra. That means the character of Harsh. Same Harshvardhan, the first we are talking about. So it is the biography of King Harsh. Now they haven't talked about it as Harshvardhan or who Harsh was, because there might be not many Harsh, but just for your knowledge, I'm giving you an idea that this is the same book related with the same person, Harshvardhan. Other works of the period were Bhavbhuti's Uttar Ramcharitra. So I've got Bhavbhuti as a writer and the work composed is Bhavbhuti. Again, 2 matching points to remember. Bharvi's Krita Arjunam. This is another work. Vishak Datta's Mudra Rakshas. So Vishak Datta is the writer and Mudra Rakshas is the book name or the compilation of the work. And Shudrak is the writer and Mrichamatikalam is the work. So whenever I'm talking about, please underline, and for your references you can write down as work as W and writer is WR. So this is how it becomes easy. Who is the writer and what is the work? Or composition, that is C, you can write it down, whatever is easy for you. So one is the writer and another one is the work which he had carried out. So this way you will be having at the end of the day certain lists, writer and the work. Writer and the work, because lot many questions do really prop up from this chapter apart from 4 marks question. So in ancient times, verses were composed in early Gujarati language. What we are learning now is that there is a deviation. From Sanskrit, certain local languages seems to be developing, and first of all, because we belong to this region of where the Gujarati is speaking, we are talking about Gujarati itself. Now, in this you are going to learn about that earliest of the writers, and there were certain writers who followed the earliest one's suits. I am the first one to write, and reading my work, some of you get influenced and you also start writing. So I have got two blocks. One who started writing in Gujarati and the other one who followed them. So that is basically the point to remember, because here the heritage of Gujarati literature was made prosperous. How it became prosperous? With the work of Narsi Mehta. So these are the pioneers. These are the ones who started writing in Gujarati in such a fashion that people started reciting it, reading it, learn it. Narsi Mehta is there. I have got Mirabai, I have got Dayaram, I have got Akho, you have got Premchand, you have got Pritam. Now these are those initial writers. Their work made Gujarati more popular, and because of the popularity, further new writers came into existence. You're getting what I'm trying to tell you? So these are the pioneers. Pioneers are the ones who started it. The following them, we have certain scholars like Narmad is there, Navla Ram is there, Kishore Lal Mashruwala is there, Mahipatram is there, Panna Lal is there. So these are those writers or those big writers or composers or scholars who later on followed what Narsi Mehta started. They started following what exactly Mirabai started. So following their steps, Gujarati was getting developed. So these were enriched ones. Now this is happening in some place called as the Central and Western India. In your previous chapter, we had learnt about that there was a place called as the Indus Valley. We are going it back on that. Indus Valley, they had the inhabitants. Who were the original inhabitants of Indus Valley? Those people who had migrated from Africa to India and started living together in the Stone Age, the earliest of the age. They found the area very comfortable, food was available, water was available throughout the year, they started surviving. Now what? We saw Aryans coming from Central Asia to India. The people were already present, so there has to be some fights. If I am living and you come and occupy my land, obviously I will be having a fight. And this resulted in a fight, this is what we presume, and the result was that those inhabitants whom we call as the people of Harappan civilization, they lost to Nordic Aryans. Why they lost? Aryans were superior than those inhabitants. Superior in the language, superiors in arts, superior in weaponries. They brought new weapons. They brought with them the metal age. They had that metallic swords or bows and arrows, God knows what. The result was, from Sapta Sindhu area, from this area, we saw the inhabitants of Harappan civilization moving towards central India. And central India, we again saw some fighting taking place, perhaps because Aryans perhaps would have been following them. These people crossed the three ranges which you had learned in class 9th, called as Maikal, Satpura and Vindhyachal. They crossed. They were trying to save themselves. And Nordic Aryans perhaps stopped at this boundary. They don't want to cross the mountain. They said we are going to stay. So what really happened? These people who started their journey from the Harappan civilization, they ended up in this inverted triangle called as the Deccan Plateau. This is what is presumed. How can we say so? When we talk about certain comparisons between the culture of North and South India, we find a significant contrast in it. The method of life, the living standards, the method of eating or having the languages, all seems to be quite different. Give you an example. This is Deccan Plateau. When I talk about languages, lot of you might be well versed in Gujarati, might be well versed in Marathi, might be well versed in Marwari, might be well versed in Hindi. I'm taking 4 different languages from far off areas than Gujarati, and you will be able to at least communicate or understand what is being talked. If a person is speaking Marathi, you will get a fair idea that this person is happy with you or is very angry with you. Same is with Marwari, same is with Hindi. Though in spite of the fact your mother tongue is Gujarati. But when we go down to the South India, this is going to be totally different. And the reason is that the base is totally different from the base which we are continuing to survive. And this proves that this group which we assumed have crossed the Vindhya or Mahakal or Maikal and Mahadev or Satpura ranges, they were these people who had taken with them their own explicit ideas. You getting it? We are talking about those people only. And in South India, we are going to learn about those 4 languages which have got different script, the writing method and pronunciation altogether. We are talking about Tamil, Telugu, Kannada and Malayalam. So 4 languages. These are called as Dravidian languages because of the background which we have just discussed. Out of those 4 languages, it is presumed that Tamil is the oldest one. And why we say so? Because various words of Tamil language are seen to be used in other 3 languages. Now this proves that there is original language, and from original language we had certain distributions at different places, and they started using new words or new method of pronunciation, way to speak. But certain words were taken from the mother language. So mother language happens to be Tamil, and the other seems to be derivative of Tamil, and this is proved by the words still being used of Tamil in Telugu, in Kannada and in Malayalam. Not all, but quite a few. So total becomes those 4 languages. The earliest record of Tamil dates back to the earliest Christian era. We are living in 21st century or 2020 AD. In case you remember, AD stands for Anno Domini, after death of Christ. So earlier century means we are talking about 1st century. We are in 21st century. So approximately 20 centuries have gone where this thing had originated, or we can assume it is 2000 years approximately old language we talk about of Tamil. Is it clear? Now, how did they develop this language? Now this language is, as we have learnt about, certain area developed in present day Andhra, certain language developed in certain area called as present day Kerala, certain language developed in area which we now call as Tamil Nadu. How they used to communicate? The method was very much simple. Every year they used to have a meeting, and this meeting was called as Sangam. And what was the main purpose of this Sangam? Throughout the year, whoever the scholars or writers are, they are going to keep on writing, keep on scribbling their words, and once in a year, they are all going to meet together and discuss, see what I have written, show me what you have written, this is my new poem, show me your poems. So they used to communicate with those learned personalities of the society from far off area through a meeting called a Sangam, and this was the way to communicate or learn basically. Communicate means I am going to give you some information, you provide me some information. This is what communication is all about. And here we have to remember certain words which are being given about that Sangam. What exactly was happening in Sangam? Here we have Ethu to Koi. Ethu means 8. So 8 poems combination used to be brought. Imagine I am the writer, so I am going to bring 8 poems. One of my best 8 poems to the Sangam. I am going to present it so that the critics, those who are the one who knows the language, they will be able to listen and appreciate it or criticize whatever it is. It's not necessary every time one has to be really appreciative. One might be critical about what you have written. You call it as a poem. So I will be coming to know. So it is Ethu to Koi, that is composition of 8 poems. Tolkappiyam, that is grammar related, and Pathupattu. Pathu means 10. So Pathupattu 10 poems combination. So here the point to remember is Ethu in Tamil means 8 and Pathu means 10. So this is what you have to remember. One of the writers, his special mention is Thiruvalluvar, still considered to be one of the best writers of South India. He had composed combination of the poem which is called as Kurai, still recited, and children are made to learn even in the schools. We're talking about the writer's work 2000 years down the line. It was composed 2000 years back. Still the children are made to learn Kurai, which is verse deals with many aspects of life and religion. Then I have got the work Shilpattikaram and Manimekalai. These are considered to be a combination of work in Tamil language, one of the best and the earliest one. Now with this, we come to the end of one part of history, that is ancient history. In case you remember, we had discussed about that the whole history is going to be divided into 3 broad categories. One is going to be ancient, then I will be having medieval, and then the modern history. So once that